Do you feel like people make assumptions about your personality based on your hair?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Yes. All the time.
Before I walk out that door, my parents are always telling me, oh, you know what happened on the news? Yeah. You see that boy, he has braids, he wears those shoes, he wears those tracksuits. I feel like people tend to make assumptions, not only with your hair, but like just looking at you as a person. In my life and in this generation, we're seeing it firsthand. Like we're still seeing, like back then it was worse, but we're seeing it like in our schools, where in spaces where you to feel safe, but those spaces are not safe anymore.
Get into wigs and wearing weaves and extensions. People tend to be like, okay, she's ghetto, she's this, she's that. Especially when you match that with makeup and lashes, that's just a whole different thing. Yeah. Going to university where there's different like cultures, different races. I remember even going to a study group yesterday, and there was like other races, and when we started to speak, it was a bunch of other black people. He was like, oh my gosh, wait, you guys are actually smart. And I always like that part really kind of hurt me, because it's like, what made you think that I wasn't smart, right? So I feel like when you're wearing like extensions, or when you wear things, or like, yeah, other things like that, people tend to have assumptions about you that aren't necessarily true.
I think of hair as a form of expression. So if your hair is like one way, then they'll think you're this. Like let's say your hair wasn't a mohawk, they think maybe you're rowdy, you're tough. Or if your hair's like more like a soft style, like in braids or twists, like you have a softer personality. But I don't think we should use like hair to judge ourselves. Like get to know the person. Just because their hair is a certain way, yes, it's a form of expression, but you know,
a lot of people assume I'm much younger than I actually am. So which is a great thing. But in professional settings, a lot of people will assume that I'm younger, so they're not going to take me as seriously, but I have to assert myself and ensure that I am that girl. And I know exactly what I'm talking about.
I feel like people will make assumptions but as a black male, they'll make assumptions about your hair. Because, there's typical black hair like braids, dreadlocks, afro. They're gonna make assumptions about some, like saying, oh, you're a criminal, stuff like that.
There was a point in time where I was cycling through a lot of different hairstyles, and one thing that I would always notice is that I got treated differently depending on the hairstyle I get to. Sometimes I would do like afros, sometimes I would do like braids, sometimes I would do like waves, and depending on what I had, people treated me vastly different. For example, if I wore like a hairstyle that kind of resembled more what is accepted by, our Eurocentric like beauty standards, people would treat me better. People would compliment me more. People would be more inclined to talk to me, say hi, approach me. Whereas when I wore like my more Afrocentric hairstyles, I got isolated a lot more. A lot of people didn't really want to talk to me, compliment my hair, or they just said, oh, well, you look kind of mean. I remember that was a specific comment I got.
We go to, what the person looks like, that's who they are, but that's not the case. I feel like who we are should really be out there, and we should always look at that first before we even look about how we look,
It matters about what's in the inside, not the outside.
And our impact too.
Exactly.
Because I have colored hair, people kind of view me as, childish, or they think I'm like, annoying a lot is what I used to get. And especially with like the height of my hair, I feel like a lot of people just didn't like me because it was so high, and they'll say it's distracting and whatnot, but I don't really care. I love my hair.
A lot of people assume that I'm loud,
right,
because of my hair,
right?
But my hair is just as it is,
exactly.
And I can be loud if I want to,
right?
But sometimes I choose
I choose to most of the time to be heard, but I can tone it down.
When people see you for the first time, it may be like, he has an afro, he may not take care of himself, or he has dreadlocks, so he may be, a part of a stereotype.
Living in Brampton, where you're a minority, every day you walk out, it's almost like you have to like assimilate yourself first into the culture instead of being who you are. So like when I walk outside, or if I have got my tracksuit on, I got my hoodie on, I got my earrings or whatever, a lot of times you're looked at the outward appearance, and I'm not saying the appearance doesn't matter, but I believe in Martin or Dr. King's philosophy of being judged by the content of your character.